Great to see that we have a mixed audience here. I love it. You're very welcome. My background, I'm Edwina Dunn. I suppose I still am. I was the founder of Dunn Humby. We started Tesco Club Card back in 1995. I'm now the CEO of a new business, StarCount. In between StarCount and Dunn Humby, I founded the Female Lead, and it's my real pride and privilege to share some of that with you today and to celebrate some of the people from within that campaign. So I'm going to kick off with a trailer which tells you something about the Female Lead. You're going to see films and portraits by the world-famous Brigitte Lacombe, who is the most amazing photographer. She's based in New York, she's French. These books and films are all part of an outreach program where we gift everything to schools. And why are we doing it? Because I believe very strongly that you can't be what you can't see. So if we don't celebrate amazing women, and if other women don't see different amazing women, we don't pass on the belief and the ambition. So these films are going to be donated, are being donated to schools both here and in the UK. So let me introduce you to the project.
My mother was certainly determined to encourage what she calls my natural sense of independence and authority, actually, on occasions. I was the eldest of 4 siblings, and she certainly did not stop me from being the boss in those days.
What I like about acting is the idea that you can sort of step into someone's life that you can't even imagine ever living.
I'm 21 years old. I escaped from North Korea. When I was very little, my mom was telling me not to even whisper. The birds and mice even can hear you. So she was telling, even though these words have ears, and whatever I say, they will listen. So don't even whisper and don't even think.
Every little girl's dream is to be a princess, and I get to do it till I'm about 30 or 40, so I'm pretty lucky. You know, it does not matter what you look like. You know, if you love this, even in anything, if you love soccer, if you love tennis, you know, if it's something that you love, you have to go for it, and you have to believe in yourself.
Not that I'm fearless, it's that I'd never allow my fear to stop me. And I think each and every one of us, if we decide that we're not going to allow the way we feel or how afraid we are to stop us, we will never be stopped.
Couldn't get a job as an anchor or reporter in the US because I just didn't fit the part. And in 1983, you had to fit the part. You had to be blonde, you had to be blue-eyed, you had to, you know, have perfect teeth, I don't know. And I didn't fit the part. But very, very fortunately, Ted Turner had just launched CNN.
It all started with 4 plastic jugs and a couple of saucepans and a whole heap of childish dreams. I certainly didn't go to business school. Because I'm dyslexic, horribly dyslexic, I couldn't follow a formulae. I couldn't read it as it was written down. So I would memorize it.
You could be close to the center, but actually you've got several more minutes of walking to go. But you look at it and you think, I'm nearly there. Why am I going all this other way? And then you're on the outer ridge, the outer rim, and you think, I'm so far from the center. Look at it over there. And actually, you just turn a corner and you're in.
So many of us work from a permission-based place, and we don't even know it. We're waiting for someone to say it's okay, waiting for someone to give us a green light, give us money, tell us how to do it, you know, shepherd us through. And, you know, if you're waiting for that, some people get lucky. But most of us have to do it for ourselves. And the sooner you realize that, and the sooner you step out and begin, just begin, you will start to find your momentum. I mean, it's a very simple piece of advice, but so often I hear people saying, oh, how do I get started? How do I do this? How do you do it? You just start. You have to begin. And it won't be perfect, and it'll be messy, and it'll be hard, but you're doing something and you're on your way.
So I hope that gives you a flavor for these amazing women. I think I also want to share with you, with my beautiful assistant here, the book that has these 60 amazing stories that are, these women are global players. Some of their faces are famous, like Meryl Streep and Christine Lagarde, and some have never been heard before. And that's what the project is all about. And they define success in different ways, not just money and power, but humanitarian causes, artistic achievement. And that's what the campaign is all about, the diversity of achievement. It's all about the fact that seeing is believing. So these many women can help shape the world. And I love their different stories and the way they tell them. So what I want to talk to you today is not just the Female Lead Project, but the very special collaboration that we've created with Women in Data. And this is the image from our kickoff campaign last year. We are about to have the new campaign start, which is very exciting. I have Rasheen here in front of me, and we are excited to share that with you. The Women in Data and Technology series are filmed interviews, photographs with 20 inspiring female entrepreneurs, practitioners, and rising stars. The collection from last year, showcased here, is, I think, a brilliant set of stories that really show the many different careers within this industry, and I think we will showcase more of these in just under a few weeks. The female lead and all of these materials are now being shared with 6,000 schools across the UK and the US. We are reaching over 1 million students. We are starting this year to take this into universities and colleges around the country, and we're starting to take this across America. So this will be a global campaign, and it's really about celebrating these wonderful women and achievement. What I'm delighted to share with you is that we have 4 amazing women here from the showcase and awards last year, and they're going to briefly introduce themselves. So I'm going to put up their lovely portrait, and then they're going to say who they are.
Hi, I'm Belle Cartwright. I currently work at Essence as a Senior Data Strategy Manager. I'm the youngest of the 20 in data for 2017.
Hi, I'm Sue Uniman. I'm Chief Transformation Officer at Mediacom, which is a media planning and buying agency, sister agency of Belle's. And I'm also co-author of The Glass Wall, Success Strategies for Women at Work and Businesses That Mean Business. And I may be the oldest of the, I can out myself, I may be the oldest of the 20 from 2017.
Hi everyone, I'm Tamara Castelli and I'm the Head of Data and Insight at Unidays. I was part of the 20 in Data last year. I actually don't have a histogram to work out where I fall in the midpoint of ages, but I'm going to guess somewhere in the middle.
Hi everyone, I'm Steph Cullen. I'm currently Head of Business Insights at Britvic. I was part of the 20 in Data as whilst I was at Dunnhumby. I also became a world champion with the GB rowing team, and I'm probably in the middle age-wise.
I think they deserve a round of applause. So having introduced these amazing women, and I'm sorry to separate myself from them, but such are the acoustics, I thought what we might do is hear a little bit from each of them about what it has meant to be singled out, to be recognized as a positive role model in the industry, how it's affected them, and maybe what impact it's had on the year they've just gone through. And I thought you might find some of their stories interesting in that perspective. So Belle, shall we start with you?
When I first started as part of the 20 in Data, I was just learning how to walk again after 6 years being disabled. And so it came in a really important change point in my life where I was still figuring out who I was and who I wanted to be. And getting the call from Rachel and Rasheen saying I got it was like, this is where I want to be. I want to be making an impact, making a difference to people and inspiring them, making them think that they can do exactly what they've wanted to do in their careers, no matter what their home circumstance. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life, you can be the change that you want to be. And through the last year, I've learnt to walk, I've climbed some mountains, I've learned to surf, stand-up paddleboarded, and also changed jobs into an amazing agency that I am super satisfied with the career move that I've made, and I'm really, really happy as a result.
That's great. Thank you, Belle. Let's. Sue.
So I too was super delighted to be chosen for the 20 in Data. I think its main impact on me was to strengthen absolutely my cause and my desire to wake up every business to the power of having women in senior management. And one of the great things that came out of it for me was making some amazing new friends, because the power of women being positive around other women is like nothing else. And I just want to quote Diane von Furstenberg, who is wont to say, there is no such thing as a weak woman. I only know strong women. And that's certainly been my experience of being part of this 20.
Tamara.
When I was got in touch about being part of the Women in Data program, I think I remember at the time feeling a little bit like, well, why me? Like, what have I done that's particularly that remarkable? And I think that it's quite easy to sort of underplay some of your achievements. They're just things that you do, and you kind of, as soon as you've done them, you write them off and you kind of, well, I did that and I'll move on to the next thing. And so actually having somebody come and say, no, what you've done has been amazing and fantastic and we want to celebrate that, was a really nice sort of point for me to sort of reflect and look back at what I've been doing, and as a result, I think it is important that we do take the time and opportunity to celebrate all of the amazing achievements of things that are being done around the data space, and particularly with women. Since that point, I also started a new job. I was actually in the transition between jobs at the launch of the 20 last year. Needless to say, it's gone very well this last year. I'm setting up a new function, and Unidays is actually sponsoring Women in Data this year, which I'm very proud of.
Hi everyone. So when I was asked to be part of the 20 in Data, I actually, embarrassed to say, the first feeling I had was almost one of embarrassment that, all these women had done great things in data, and here I was, a rowing world champion. What did that have to do with data? But actually what I've realized is what Britvic wanted and what Women in Data gave me permission to do was bring more of myself into my role. And what Britvic asked me to do as part of telling my story of being part of the Women in Data was to say, well, how can you be that world champion in the office and lead? And it's just made me realize that, being your authentic self and being proud of what you've done and what it took to get there is a really important part of who you are and how you show up. So I have brought that into my role much more in the last year. At a time when things are difficult for the soft drinks industry, it's been really good to be able to stand up and say, okay, regardless of the data element, I'm going to bring more of who I am to get us through this challenging sugar tax age.
So this is about bringing some of yourself to the party when you work and celebrating the fact that maybe you are different. What we found when we looked at all of these amazing women, when we studied the 60 women from the female lead, we found that there were some really important common themes that were strands within all their conversations. And one of them, which I think has just been alluded to, was very much about feeding your passions. And so we're going to talk about some of the themes. So theme 1 is following your passion, feeding your passion. I think on the whole, women don't like talking about ambition. Not totally sure why, but I think we're a bit uncomfortable with it. But passion and following your passion seems to be one of the themes. So I'm going to ask, who am I going to ask? Following your passions. None of you answered that. So I'm just going to ask, who wants to talk about following your passion? Thank you, Sue.
I will say, my day job is media planning and buying and helping our clients' businesses to grow and to transform. I am passionate about gender equality at work. That's why I'm absolutely delighted to be on this stage. And it's enriched my day job so much that I have worked for a company that allows me to have a voice and speak out. And not just me, but actually everybody that works there. And I think too often it's kind of dismissed as a side hustle or something. But actually, what we need to do in the current economy, and with Brexit looming, is harness everyone's energies as much as we can. And if that means a bit of give and take, if that means that you don't strictly stick to the day job the whole time, but you actually go beyond and above it, then I think that it just makes sense. It just gives companies competitive edge. So, I guess we could ask you, Edwina, you followed your passion, right?
I did. I didn't know what my passion was till I arrived at my first day at work, but I've never really left it. My passion is data, This is why this group of women, all means so much to me, because my career has spanned 30 odd years and I've never left the thrill and the excitement of big data. That's the journey I've been on. And it is hugely exciting. And I've found that, when I look back at dunnhumby and creating a global business with 1,500 people, 50% of that talent pool were women. And so this whole idea that women aren't very good at maths and aren't very good at technology, we all know is not true. Women are fantastic at it, and I think the more we encourage, the more we show the way, the more women will come into the industry. And, Cities recently reported that if more women stepped up to a level of achievement that men currently achieve, it would grow GDP by 6%, which would be huge. So this is not just a nice, fluffy idea. It actually will make a lot of economic sense. So, oh dear, I managed to step on something there. I'm really sorry. You're smiling at me. It's not the end of the world. Except I do want to show a slide at the end, so small thing. Okay, so one of the things that I did ask you about is this theme of dare to be different, okay? Steph, talk to me about being different.
Okay, so not everybody likes getting up at 5:20 in the morning to do an 18-kilometre row before they go into the office, but I did. And it took, I would say, a little bit of courage to smile at Edwina every day as I ran past in my kit into the dunnhumby office. But it paid off daring to be different, because when I accidentally made the GB rowing team, and I don't have time to tell you the story behind that, I had to go to dunnhumby and say, GB rowing want me to turn up at some trials for the World Championships. Do you mind if I go? And they said, of course you can go. And I ended up working a 20-hour week for dunnhumby whilst training with the GB rowing team 20 hours a week. I never for one moment envisaged that 3 years later we'd win the World Championships. But, you know, I would encourage all of you, when you think, oh, I don't want to stand up and say what it is that I'm doing that makes me a little bit different. You just don't know where it's going to take you, and you don't know who's going to back you. And Dunhumby backed me 100%. And I'm happy to be able to pay Edwina back, I guess, and Dunhumby back by sharing that message as part of the 20 in data and the female lead to encourage everybody, no matter what it is, that you can be successful at the same time as working in data and delivering your other passion, because I was equally passionate about both.
What she's not saying is that it was very intimidating bumping into Steph in the showers as a GB athlete, believe me, with the age difference being slightly extreme. Anyway, let's not talk about that. Belle, I think you have something to say on this.
Yeah, so I had to make quite a difficult decision with everything that was going on with my legs, and whether to kind of go to uni or whether to have some time off, because I was in a wheelchair. You may not realise, but I was in a wheelchair for a solid 2 years and then on crutches for 4 years. And I really struggled with my identity. I went from someone who was physically fit and active to someone who was unable to make a simple cup of tea. And that was really, really difficult. And what I realized was that I kind of just need to kind of roll with the punches and just see where it takes me. And I went to uni, still trying to figure stuff out. It was really tough, really, really, really hard. I can't remember most of my first year. And then over time, I kind of discovered my passions again. I discovered, coincidentally, rowing. I was part of the Paralympic rowing team during my second year, where I discovered, again, I was classified as not being disabled enough to do my passion. So I was disabled, but not disabled enough. And then I had to reinvent myself again and again and again. And the same happened when I had my operation. The summary being is that through all of that, the common thread was that I can just do what I want to do. It doesn't matter, because the driving force is me. And knowing that has given me so much courage to ask for promotions, to say, no, I'm not happy with being treated this way, so I'm going to find another job. Or I want to make a positive impact, so I'm going to join the IPA admission to help increase STEM students into the industry. Or I want to change the names on the rooms in my office because they're all men, and that's not okay. So just simple things like that, and having the courage to do it, even though it terrifies you.
Tamara, you talk about staying curious. Why is curiosity, and a lot of the women have talked about, you know, that energy to learn and to be curious. Why has that been important to you in helping you in your career?
I think that anyone doing a data role will probably have curiosity somewhere in their DNA, as it's a fairly fundamental part of sort of being good at data, trying to use that data to explain the unexplainable. I think where curiosity has played a different part for me is that whilst early on in my career, I think a lot of my peers took that curiosity and wanted to continue down, understanding more and more of the technical or the mathematical aspects of things. I was always a bit more sort of broad and wanted to, I did consulting to start off with, and I would go and do HR projects or finance projects, even though I was part of the analytics team. I was almost seen as a bit of the odd one out. And it's because I've always been curious as to how other teams work, how everything all fits together. And so coming in now, it's sort of like at a later stage of my career, where I'm leading a function, you start to recognize the importance of actually having that broader perspective of how teams all work together, how everything sorts of fits, because ultimately you are part of a bigger ecosystem, and the solutions and the things that you're putting together from a data perspective, if they're going to be successful, they need to be maybe delivered by other teams, or you need to take into consideration the constraints of the environment that you're working in. So remaining curious about everything else around you rather than just maybe your domain expertise, I think is really critical for sort of continuing that sort of elevation in your career. Now, that said, it has got me into trouble on a couple of occasions. But I maintain and I stand by it. I think that you should always remain curious and don't let anyone else tell you otherwise.
Fantastic, thank you. So I think one more theme that's really strong that I'm going to ask you, Sue, to talk to. I think in a career, bad things happen. The longer you work, the longer the list gets, and they are sometimes quite bad. I can talk about the subject myself for quite a long time. But Sue, please share with us how you've managed to find strength in setbacks.
I would say without a shadow of a doubt, the things that I have learnt most from is where things have gone really properly disastrously wrong, right? I do not think we talk about it enough. I think there is this idea that, you know, glamorous women stand on podiums and go, everything's been fantastic and you just have to work harder than everyone else and it'll all be fine. It's like, no, everything isn't going to be fine. And often you hit barriers. And I'm going to be incredibly indiscreet. Please don't repeat any of this. But one of my standout moments was when I was thrown out of a meeting by Sir Philip Green, the Topshop tycoon, because I made a comment that he didn't like. And at the time, it's a longer story, probably for over a bar, but at the time, don't have time today, but at the time, I was so upset. I actually was with my boss. I'd simply laid the cards on the table and said, you know, if you want to have a discussion, that's great. If you don't want to have a discussion, you know, I might as well go. And he said, go on, then go, kind of thing. And so I got shown out. And I went home, and I ate chocolate, actually. And two things happened after that. One of them was, it was one of my kids was doing a parents-teachers, a concert. And I went along to that. And I met my friend, who happens to be a doctor. And she looked at me and she said, because everyone can always tell how I am, and said, are you all right? And I said, yeah, just bad day at work. And then I looked at her and I said, are you okay? And she said, oh, I had a bad day at work too. And I said, what happened? And she said, I had to tell the parents of one of my patients who's 16 that she wasn't going to make it. And I suddenly thought, yeah, all right, my day wasn't that bad. So that was lesson number one. And lesson number two is, very often with meetings, it is about not what you say or what you know, it's about the casting. So if what you want in a meeting is Meg Ryan, do not cast Susan Sarandon. If what you want is, I don't know, Dustin Hoffman, don't cast Arnie Schwarzenegger. I just learnt a lesson that you need to not just think about what you're going to say, but who says it.
What you want to achieve. Oh. Fantastic. Look, I think some of these wisdoms are captured in the films, captured in the book. I want to leave you. Firstly, I'm going to just refer back to the female lead, where you are going to see not only the wonderful women you've seen here today, but all the women who are going to be announced in a couple of weeks' time on the 29th of November at the New Women in Data and Technology Awards. And you can share brilliant quotes like the one from Sue there, with your friends, with your family, and you can say, saw this, thought of you. And so we really want to engage in these very positive conversations. So please do visit the site. You can gift the female lead and all these wonderful materials to schools and universities across the country. So you can go on, nominate a school, any university, and they will receive all of these books, films, free. And we already have 6,000 schools engaged. So you can help and you can make these stories live longer and work harder. So I'm going to leave you now. Thank you so much for your attention. I want to thank the absolutely wonderful Steph, Tamara, Sue and Belle. Thank you all.